Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Fake Accents Unite. I am joined, as always, apart from the last 2 weeks, but we forget about that, by the Britisher. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are we all today?
We are hanging on in there, as the Britisher would like to say.
Someone you know tends to say, yes.
So, yeah, with a penchant for red and white and little bits of eggy spread besides. I'm also joined this week by now regular guest Tailed Feature. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Vasco.
And also by Rose of Dawn, who we haven't had on in a little while. Good evening.
Good evening. Hwyl dda.
It's like, I think I've been on more streams of yours.
That's goodbye, sorry.
Oh, whoops.
My Welsh has gone a little bit rusty, but I'm now back in Wales. So, I'm trying to make sure I'm as memorable in my Welsh as I can. But yeah, it's been ages since I was last on one of your streams.
It doesn't seem to have worked out, has it? Like, just in general, when it turns to timings and whatnot. Although, to be fair, you have been moving around, from what I understand. How's all that going?
It's been fun. My landlord has now decided to keep... My old landlord has now decided to keep my entire deposit because she wants to do renovations on the property and is accusing me of damaging it. So for the first time ever, I'm kind of understanding leftists
kill all landlords
when they want to kill all landlords. So I'm like, this is like, it's just ridiculously unfair. Like, there's problems with the flats that I'm now being held accountable for when it was always a problem with the property, but. So, yeah, I'm not getting my deposit back, which is fun.
Joy.
The revolution started here, ladies and gentlemen.
But yeah, I'm looking at, I'm just with my parents at the moment, but in September, I'm going to be moving again. But, this is, somewhere outside of London, but not too far, so I can still commute in. But, it's, actual going for village life. The wholesome, proper British, the kind of place where people would have, I don't know, people probably wouldn't fly the Union Jack, but, the kind of place where you might have, a village vicar. Your lawn parties and stuff, and village fetes. That's the kind of thing which I'm looking for.
They burn the local bobby in a wicker man once a year.
Yeah.
That sort of place.
Pretty sure that happened in Scotland, wasn't it?
Well, that kind of is happening in London at the moment anyway, so, might as well...
A wicker man made of shopping trolleys.
Might as well. Oh, God, London is a hellhole.
London, I wouldn't even say London is a hellhole in that sense. It's just completely antithetical to anyone who wants any kind of rural or small community life, because
there's no community in London.
Yeah, community doesn't work at all.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest lies about London is that there's this kind of community feel there, and you'll often hear Londoners stick together and stuff like that. No, they don't. Londoners are incredibly segregated from one another. Unless you're the kind of person who grew up there, or you're going into kind of one of these, kind of communities that are built around, say, ethnicity. So, you have, the Afro-Caribbean community, you have, the Chinese community, you have those various kinds of communities in London. But outside of that, there isn't, a general London community for people who just live in London. When you think of the cultural events in London, the two biggest ones I can think of are London Pride, which is an LGBTQIA++ event, and then there is Notting Hill Carnival, which is a celebration of Afro-Caribbean culture, not London culture. The Notting Hill Carnival is great, but it's not... my hometown has, a little church festival thing every year, and that's actual kind of hometown community. London just does not have that.
So what you're saying is London needs a Greg's Parade or Greg's Pride or Carnival.
London just needs to have, I don't know, even if you had a eel pie and mash,
eel. It's got to be eel pie, right?
That's what I said.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Like proper.
Oh,
like,
I thought you said ye old pie and mash.
No,
you need your
you need a right good knees up, is what you need.
Yeah, you need a good knees up. You know, like after the after VE Day, where they had all those like enforced little street parties where they basically forced all the kids to go sit out on tables so the mums could take photos of them. Like you just need that, like all the city to kind of come out like that, and then you just have like jelly deals.
You
Pie
mean
and mash
like
of
the
chocolate.
Lord Mayor's show
Yes,
in London,
yes.
or the Pearly Kings and Queens?
Well, like you don't often kind of come across the pearly kings or queens.
What
Well,
on earth
yes,
is
but-
what on
Like
earth is the
I lived there for like nearly 8 years. I never once came across a pearly king.
what on earth is a pearly king or queen?
It sounds pretty sordid when you're talking about
Let's
coming across them.
nobody tell him. Like that will keep him, worrying for the rest of the show as to just
Well,
how sordid this
what
whole
is-
affair has become.
What is a pearly king?
Mm-hmm.
Pearly.
There's like a Pearly King does sound like something you would come across.
Oh, I see.
I never came across them at all.
I've never seen any of these in my entire life. I have to say,
You
they
just-
look
you
like
just
they
need a-
belong in the Wild West.
You just need a Chaz and Dave concert, although one of them died recently, but you just have Chaz and Dave Day or something, have a right royal knees up.
So wait, what was this Lord Mayor's festival?
It's kind of like a parade once a year, isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah,
yay!
but like
you
one.
can
I
do
think even if that was considered to be a London cultural thing, as opposed to just an event which some people attend, one event throughout the year does not a community make. That's what
I mean, like you can kind of get away with it in a small town. Like a small town can have a once a year thing.
Oh, it's like the.
Dancers out.
Well, I'm thinking.
Like, London doesn't have like it just has like
Well-
if you have this Lord Mayor's show, you have the Lord Mayor's show in the middle of November, which is a time when nobody really wants to go out anyway.
Well, look. It's also like there are loads of things in cities which just can't be, which are antithetical. It's like, can you imagine having a harvest festival in the middle of London? It's like with a group of people who've possibly never seen farmland in their entire life outside of, that isn't on TV. It's the sort of.
You could go to like Vauxhall City Farm and look at the giant turkey.
I just.
They do have an incredibly impressive turkey. I've got to admit. Just thought I would put that out there because it's a really impressive turkey.
Apparently, we're on our 692nd Lord Mayor at the moment. By the way,
Like,
Isn't-
how,
which-
do they have like a Lord Mayor a year or something?
I have no idea. Let me see. The Lord.
Sure, it's been
Mayor.
around a while, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't imagine it's just a yearly thing.
You should have like a Barbara Windsor festival, or an EastEnders. I don't know what's the pub, the Queen Vic.
Yeah.
How would one celebrate the Barbara Windsor Festival?
Well, it'd have to be a carry-on camping kind of thing, wouldn't it?
So bra catapulting would be part of the.
Yeah.
Well, you've won me over.
Men and women alike, to be honest.
Oh, well, now you're beginning to lose me again.
No,
you
it'd have to be segregated, of course. So
It's all right, Britisher. I'll wheel you around on a little trolley at just breast height for you.
whose breast height, though?
That is the question, isn't it? The average breast height. How about that?
Oh, okay. I see now. A new Lord Mayor is appointed every year, and a public parade takes place as his or her inauguration.
Yes. And we started doing it in 1189, and they don't get paid, so that's always good. And they're just supposed to represent, support, and promote businesses and London residents. City of London residents, which is a very specific area of London. That one. But yes. Anyway, that stuff aside, before we go on to the news of the day, I think there's a little bit of shilling that needs to be done. Tailed, you've been very busy, haven't you? You put out a new song or a cover.
I did last week. Yeah, I put out a cancel culture cover parody song type thing, which didn't do particularly well, but it was in aid of the academic agent and his current plight. So it's available for download for free, but if you want to donate some bucks, they will go directly to him. But then, yeah, Ian Miles Chung managed to get a hold of the song and was like, "This is amazing. I love this song already." He already knew the original song. So he was quite chuffed with that. And he did a little interview with me about it as well, which is a little bit strange.
Oh, when's that coming out?
I don't know. It was just a text thing. So he said he'll get it out in the next couple of days. So, yeah, that's been fun.
So did you actually like, is it just, did he say what it was going on?
I'm guessing he writes for some publication or other. I don't actually know.
Like how many views is it sitting at the moment?
It's not even at 2,000, which is low even for me. That's quite low. So yeah, but
this exposure is going to help.
Well, yeah, as long as he actually links to the YouTube video rather than, because what he did was he downloaded the video from YouTube and uploaded it as a tweet, like the video itself.
Cheeky bastard.
Because that meant that the song didn't really get any more views. It just got views on his video, like on his tweet, which is fine.
How many views did the tweet get?
It was sitting at about 25,000 the last time I checked.
Well, so there you go. That's not bad going.
Yeah. But and then it was only in a little tweet underneath that he went, "By the way, you can watch the full thing here," kind of thing. Yeah, 20k. So that would have been nice if that was on my channel, but oh well, that's what it is. I got a whole new followers and stuff, so that was quite fun. Only a couple of people said it made their ears bleed, so that's all right.
It made my ears bleed, but in a good way. That's what I want you to know. No, I'm joking. Yes, some of you may have spied that the name of this stream is The End. And also, I couldn't be bothered to go back and count all of the Fake Accents Unite, but I'm pretty sure it's over 100. So I've simply named this one episode 99, so that next week we can do episode 100 as a proper thing and see what we can do. I'll see what I can arrange. It'll probably be a longer show than usual, and we'll be looking at. I might be doing it for 10 or 12 hours or something like that. We'll see how it goes.
So why is it called The End?
It's called The End, and very sad news, but a pillar in Trafalgar Square has an art installation on it called The End.
Oh God!
And there you go.
It's clickbait.
It's fucking click.
We are not talking about that monstrosity with propellers on it.
This is the monstrosity with propellers on it. I'm just going to take the image up, put the image up for the stream to see, and obviously.
Sorry, I've already seen it.
That's all right. I just ended the stream by accident.
Wait, what?
Are we still connected? Yeah, I think we're still connected. Yeah, that's good.
Wait. Is it still going on live?
Yeah, we're still live. I clicked stop streaming and then start streaming, and then it's just gonna I meant to just click the image off, and it just didn't work. We're still live. Thank God. It just treated it as a blip. Sorry, everyone. But yes, this is the thing. It says, "Oh Lord, this is awful." I can see the chat already reacting. Yeah, basically. Where's this?
Actually made out of cherries and cream. That would be something,
Right.
Because then it would eventually just decompose into nothing.
So do you want to know how long it's taken for this art piece to be created, let alone put up?
Oh, please do tell.
4 years.
I believe every word of it.
How did it take 4? How?
Right, this was the artist. I'm going to go through the artist's motivations, but they conceived of this idea in 2016 at the appropriate time. Hence why the sculpture is also called the End. It features a slab of slopping whipped cream, a cherry on top, with a drone, a modern drone with the little propellers do spin going down the side and on one side, and a great sculpture of a fly on the other. I say great to mean size, not to mean my opinion of this piece. Yeah,
They should just paint it brown, and then that would suit it far better, since there's already a fly on it.
It's
I'm sure you know where I'm going with it.
I can kind of get the idea of putting something like a drone on it. So, like you trying to compare like drones to flies, but they ruin that comparison by having a normal fly alongside it.
It's not even making a comparison of the surveillance state. It is presumably, from what I can tell, a critique of consumerism.
Oh, of course.
But also,
damn it, they almost had a point.
And
almost had a point.
It's also completely out of character. Now, the fourth pillar in Trafalgar, to give it its fair dues, has always been. It's always been reserved for art pieces, and it's only a temporary installation.
Well, you say always been.
In
This
recent
is actually
memory.
a fairly recent fad.
In recent memory is what I meant. A lot of people have said, get rid of that, replace it with a statue of Maggie Thatcher on Twitter, which is one of the current petitions. But yeah, so there's something like it's had like 11 other installations recently, which have also cycled through, all of which were in keeping in the sense of the not just the style of the area, but also the theme of the area, because Trafalgar is supposed to represent partly the glories of Britain. It's supposed to represent, Britain at her best. That's what I get out of Trafalgar Square. Whatever you think of the actual the style of the area, that's what everything about it shouts. That's what the lions are for. That's what the column is for. That's what all the buildings which ring around the square are for. This crap belongs either at some modern art museum or on someone's lawn if they've made it. It didn't deserve to be... God knows what they were paid for this, right? Because
that was the point I made to someone on Twitter, was that I don't really blame the artist. I blame the people that went, yes, this is a good idea.
Yeah.
Because surely they would have picked... They would have had a number of art installations to pick, and they went, yes, that one. We want that one.
Mm.
Well, what I find... an interesting thought, given the tailed feature said, maybe if one sprayed it brown, it would be more appropriate. I was just wondering.
I say it when Britisher says it's hilarious.
Look, I do wonder whether or not the original plan, looking at the style of it, was for it to be brown, and the council said no. And
Could
so
be.
a little bit of an alteration.
The thing I was wondering about is, if one actually were to spray it brown, do we think one would receive a tougher sentence in the courts than toppling, say, a statue in Bristol?
Yes.
I wonder why that is.
Well, because if you're spraying things brown, surely that's, you just say,
Racist.
oh, I'm doing it because Black Lives Matter.
Can you imagine just spraying it brown, getting arrested, and saying Black Lives Matter with like a really smug smile on your face?
Putting blackface on a statue.
Well, then again, cream is a dairy product, and milk supposedly is racist.
Oh, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was going to say, if it said like Associated Dairies or something on it like that, you'd be like, all right, it's an advert for whiped cream. Fine.
I was just melanating the statue officer. Yes.
Is it true? I heard from somewhere that the original artist was bullied off Twitter because of this.
The artist has actually quit Twitter. Yes. And so I'm going to go.
Valley was lost.
And so I'm going to
It's
go.
funny, isn't it? How with all this modern art, art, they always say, well, it's to stimulate discussion. It's something different for everybody else. I'm not going to tell you what the meaning of it is. It's up to the viewer. You tell me. And then when the viewer does tell them,
you run away crying.
Yes. So I'm going to read the article just so we have a bit more background on this as well.
Do we need it?
We do. So on one level, this is an absurdly large swirl of whipped cream with a cherry, a fly and a drone on top. On another, it's the end of everything as we know it.
But how?
Visitors to Trafalgar Square have until spring 2022 to come to their own conclusions about the vast new artwork by Heather Phillipson, the 13th art commission to fill the 4th plinth. It was unveiled 4 months later than originally planned. The reason for this postponement was COVID, something that now gives the dystopian nature of the work that extra edge. For me, Phillipson said she came up with the idea for it in 2016, the winner of the EU referendum, the year of the EU referendum, and Donald Trump winning the US presidential election. For me, we've been at a point of some kind of entropy for a long time. When I was thinking of this work, there was a sense for me of an undercurrent that was already there. This feels like a continuation of that. So other than just pure vagary, we're looking at this and I'm just going...
This makes it even worse.
It's Trump derangement syndrome and Brexit fever all smushed into one dessert-shaped treat.
But the beautiful bit about it is that it's not even something that the FBPE crowd would necessarily take to mean that. It's so vague that even its target audience can't really get riled up about it.
Just isn't sure what on earth. Yeah, it's like a lot of people, the biggest thing that's coming out is a lot of people saying it's ugly, but nobody on Twitter and nobody that I'm aware of because this thing is just minor news as far as the global, the national news is concerned. So it's really only come out in the local to London papers and one minor article on the BBC. But no one's talking about what it represents. For the future of the nation, for the people who visit, for the tourists who will see it, for the government that has erected the statue, presumably at great cost to the taxpayer, because that's imagine how it's got paid for. And it's going to be there for now nearly 3 years. 3 years.
Right.
It's going to be there for 3 years?
Till mid 2022, but it's late, so it's sort of sticking there a little bit.
Oh dear God!
Yes, that's what I mean by temporary.
I studied music, right, which was a worthless degree, but
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I know. Right, but a lot of the stuff we had to do, there was a lot of kind of, we're going to do this thing where we have to be creative and everything, right? What I would do was basically come up with something, just whether it was musical or whatever it was, I would just sort of chuck anything together and then attribute meaning to it, because I was like, it's all bollocks anyway. And I'd always get really good marks because they were like, oh, you've really thought about this, and I'm just thinking, I've just completely made this up. I am taking the piss. So that's whenever I see anything like this, and then the sort of this post hoc explanation for what it's meant to represent and everything, I can't help but think, you made this thing and just went, I'll just put cream and a fly and a drone. I'll just stick a drone in it as well. And then you attribute your meaning to it afterwards. It has to be that. No one really goes, what sums up 2016 and the madness of all of that to me? I know, a big dollop of cream and a cherry.
No, you know what it is? Because I watched, I can't remember what show it was. It was something about glass making. It was like a glass making competition or something. And there was this woman, and she was like this arch kind of irrational modernist feminist artist, and so she made this kitchen scene with like some enormous deformed fried egg, and she's walking around and they're explaining it afterwards, and she's talking about how it represents like the ovum of the woman overspilling her preferred place in society going over this plinth, and how the like the hole in this saucepan represents like women rejecting like traditional femininity or some nonsense like that. But this is genuinely how these people think. But I genuinely think that they can apply this kind of, as you say, this kind of rationalization tale to literally anything. So what they'll have done is they'll have had some kind of bizarre fever dream, or they'll have sat there with no thoughts going through their head, because these people rarely have those thoughts, and they've just gone, I'm a little bit hungry. Cream. Whipped cream. Whipped cream represents the decadence of society. I shall put that in my sculpture. That's the way that they're thinking of it. I don't think they've just like made something and not done it. I just truly think that they're thinking purely in symbols all of the time.
Do you think she's fat?
I have no idea. I haven't looked her up, but
what I find really strange is like the statue. What do you call it? Is it a statue?
It's called a statue. She isn't fat, by the way.
She isn't.
No, this is what she looks like. She's not. Yeah, you can just have a look yourself.
I'm not sure whether one would refer to it as statue or not an art installation. I think that's the sort of vocabulary one uses for these things these days.
We'll take installation then. That'll do.
So, like, what I find strange about it is, like, going back to what I said earlier, I thought that it would be about, like, there's drones everywhere. It's about, like, surveillance culture. Like, drones are kind of like the fly on the wall, but in this case, the fly on the ice, the cream.
Oh, it's definitely
not like clever. It's not like it didn't feel like the most kind of like satirical
as
take that there ever could be, but it was still at least something. But this idea of it's about Trump. It's about it's just lazy. Like you had a reason there. And you didn't do it.
Well, there are these two events that are sitting rent-free in her mind and the mind of every other deranged leftist.
They're so lazy. They're so lazy.
Oh yeah,
everything to do with Trump and Brexit.
Look, they're not original. Like, don't get this. Don't get me wrong. Like, this is they really struggle to be original. So they can't take a real idea. They might be able to create something a little bit using someone else's idea, but they're very rarely. I think genuine creativity is truly rarity.
Yeah, like they were so close. Like she was so close. She's so close to having. Like it wouldn't have been great, but it would have been something.
I mean, you're assuming she would have got the commission if it hadn't been about Trump and Brexit. Well,
that's the other thing.
That is, yeah. Like that, I accept that.
I do like Yorkie One's take on it, which says it's a tit on a plinth.
You know what? You've showed me the picture of her, right? And yeah, she doesn't really look like what I was expecting. She looks like a middle class. Is it Vicky Pollard? That character from Little Britain?
Oh yeah. She reminds me very much of someone in my class at university who just looks like she holds the same opinions.
With her arms folded and everything. I'm just like, you're.
Oh, I know what she's from. She once turned a tube platform into a protest against the torture of eggs. Yeah, I had to take the central.
The torture of eggs.
I know. Don't
vegan.
Don't get me started.
She's using cream and she's a vegan.
Who is it? I had to go down the Central Line every day in 2018, and genuinely, there's this really stupid, like, artsy thing that I had to read, like, because you can't help but read it, because it's like there's no ads on the side of this particular station. It's just this one art installation, and it's basically talking about how you are nothing more than like a bit of biological sputum on the heel of the earth, and you need to recognize your worthlessness. It wasn't very particularly nice, but it was just hideously depressing. Apparently, she's a DJ, poet, musician, and artist.
Well, you've got to cover all those bases if you want to be a massive twat.
Well, I suppose if every Well, I suppose if every job is going to pay you, like $3,000 a year, you need to meet that minimum wage threshold somehow. But yeah, it's
eggs.
Irritatingly, she's probably on quite good money.
I'd like to address Trollop7 in the chat. Says she looks like one of yours, tailed. I'm assuming because she's ginger. How dare you? But fair point. She doesn't dress like one of ours. So.
I don't know. She's like, so again, like, remember this this sort of people thinking and talking in stupid flowery language and imagery all the time. It's not that there isn't a place for that. It's just that it's incredibly irritating all of the time. So she's like, why so much whipping? It's like the whipped. I'm installing whipped cream in the most famous public space in Britain. Oh, whipped sounds propulsive, plosive, doesn't it? She shouts, giggling, filled with energy. I'm really interested in how we give ourselves away in language, how we can't stop dribbling out stuff in our words and through our bodies. So perhaps it is truly a breast covered in whipped cream. Perhaps she was actually the designer on that what was it, Katy Perry's California Girls video, the one where they wore cakes or something all the time.
Oh, it was not like cans of spray cream or whatever it was.
She is steeped in postmodern theory, you know.
Yes, I can tell.
Sounds more and more like a description of Titania McGrath.
Postmodernism is a mental illness, I'm pretty sure.
She said she did like a prior screening of this piece, like a miniature version of it before, which shows that again that it's just easy to produce. Like
was it a real cream and cherry and she just ate it?
No, she made it like apparently the original focus of the piece was it was an unwitting inversion of Ken Dodd. What a beautiful day, said the late comedian, for filling your trousers with ice cream, sticking a cherry on your head and saying, how was that for a Knickerbocker glory? So it's supposed to be it's supposed to be an apocalyptic, unstable load, a monument to human hubris and impending collapse. Yeah.
A monument to human hubris.
Yeah.
Mm.
If anything, to me,
we all see it now, don't we?
It's purely a monument to her own hubris.
See, what she should have done was she should have made it hummus instead.
Oh God!
With more middle class,
and instead of a cherry, an avocado slice on top.
Exactly.
It says here that she wanted to put "all that is solid melts into air." A quote from Marx on the side of it. One is a giant. So she's got. The context is everything. She has never been to Trafalgar Square. She only knows it from protests. Brackets. She's sporting an anti-Tory lapel badge.
Of course she is. Oh,
and
I hate people with lapel badges.
And she's aware that the Pet Shop Boys played there. But it's the centre of hubris and data collection, and I'm riffing on that. Hence, two oversized beasts cling to a subculture. One a giant fly, the other a drone sucking up the visual data. Inspired by David Cronenberg's The Fly, because disgust can be so engrossing. And yeah, there you go.
Okay, yeah, all of that makes perfect sense.
Well, I'm lactose intolerant, and I find that statue very offensive. I'm not actually, by the way, but
like again, Tailed, you don't seem to realise that I don't care if you find it offensive. What would we have to talk about if we didn't find things which offended us? Like, come on! Like, I want to keep this show going at least another 100 episodes. What have you got? Yeah.
Well, you see, I still have a much better idea than this monstrosity for that particular plinth, because I think the plinth could come in quite handy. At the moment, I think that plinth should be used as the sole home of a bronze statue of Edward Colston.
He didn't build Trafalgar, but I can see your sense of
one slightly bigger than the one he had in Bristol. And, it should remain in place until Bristol concedes that his old statue ought to go back up again.
Can we have him giving a black power salute for extra offence as we go along? Like, in fact, just like a carbon copy of that BLM protester statue, the resin one.
I think rather than a black power salute, that's much too. You don't.
It's not. It's too trolly, is it?
When it has to. When you're trying to do. When you're trying to do art, you have to be not so much on the nose. So you have to allow the audience to interpret how you are in support of a particular cause.
Britisher.
So I would suggest is just simply brandishing a long whip.
Britisher. Did you say not so much on the nose, just so you could avoid saying not so obvious in terms of the way in which we have these things?
I work very hard at this.
You knew if you had said not so obvious, I'd have said what? Okay, I'm gonna go through super chats just because of what the last one is very pertinent. So Scowen says 1 eternity later. 136 seconds. Her Royal Majesty hangs her head in shame. You cannot tell us what Her Royal Majesty says. Said Scowen, you filthy continental. No offense, Britisher. And stunned into silence. Bless him. Mr. Gently Benevolent says, replace this monstrosity with a statue of Mr. Britisher standing proudly holding a cup of tea and his colonial harem looking up in awe. Oh, hi, First Minister.
Hi.
I approve. I approve of that.
It could be a very diverse harem for you.
Yes, it can be a very, very diverse harem. But preferably, don't go crazy on the textiles involved. Just yes.
Oh, good grief!
Just make sure they're in chains.
Yes,
in chains, like Princess Leia outfits from the from Star Wars. Good grief!
Well, I've got my tea in one hand and the various leashes in the other. Have I?
We start off with something tasteful, and now it's like here is Britisher and his slave girls. It's like one of every race, just to be fair.
It's fine though. Again, just post hoc rationalization. It's fine. It's fine. I'm sure we could twist it to be.
Oh yes, yeah. We can make sure that it's actually something that is in pure condemnation. Blah 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 blah. But yes.
Yes, he's holding you to the earth. That's what it is.
Yes, binding me to the earth.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
it's actually a piece about environmentalism.
Oh God!
Its title has nothing. It's not Britisher or anything like that. It's Greta.
No, look, is Greta one of the girls? Oh no, that would be
no. That would be again. That would be too on the nose.
I see. I was thinking that it was going to be a testament to how we were going to solve both the environmental problem and overpopulation, which they claim is going to be a problem, purely by the fact that if every woman belongs to Britisher, he can only breed at so fast a rate, so that just the human race is going to. Sorry, I amused myself there. Yes.
That's all that matters.
Reconquista UK says Britishers with harem statue in the style of a Frazetta Gore cover. Frazetta Gore cover. What's that?
Yes, I think he was the guy who made those famous art pieces.
Yeah,
for all the Conan books.
These
stuff.
kind of Conan types. Yes, always with some busty girl in a bikini clinging to his leg or something like that, while he's slaying the monsters with his axe or some such thing.
Yes, I had several of these as a child. Yes,
it's funny. When you look at his Wikipedia page, there are no pictures like that.
Oh, really?
There are not. There's a self-portrait. There's like a kind of space sort of thing.
And yet the ones he's well known for are not there. Shocking.
Yeah, there's one of Death Dealer where it's just the character on his horse.
Didn't he
There's no
also
scantily clad women.
Didn't he also do one for Flashman?
I don't know.
I think it's Flashman sort of at the charge of the Light Brigade, and there is a lady with not too much on lying across the horse.
Wouldn't surprise me. I'm no expert.
What is this now? Mad Beast Yeti says, Britisher, when is your appointment to the House of Lords? Or are you thinking of serving in one of the colonial senates?
Well, I mean, we wait with bated breath to hear from Boris Johnson.
He's just held up at the moment, man. It's the COVID thing. It's delayed everything. Everyone's working from home.
It must be that. Yeah.
Not to mention, it's probably like your MBE is probably lost in a post.
It was most likely the reason why Dominic Cummings made it up to Durham is because he'd forgotten the list with my name on up there.
Oh dear. This is where we find out that actually you're a member of the civil service and you've got many knighthoods and honours and stuff, despite the fact that you never knew when they were coming. Did you, Richard?
Yes, that's a wonderful conversation, isn't it, that Bernard has with the minister while they're in the car one day, and they're sort of talking about the...
But I thought honours were closely...
Call me God, kindly call me God, and so on.
Yes.
And he says,
God calls me God.
Order of they sort of mention the various orders, and he says, then there's the Order of the Thistle. And he says, well, how does he award the Thistle? A committee sits on it.
Oh, it's cringe. It's so good at the same time.
Hilarious joke.
A 20-year-old Britisher was the first person to ever be knighted.
Well, a 20-year-old, yes. Yeah. Anaquin Cringewalker says, would progressives approve of these equality initiatives in the harem industry? Well, that's the question, of course, isn't it? Because once they start diversifying everything, how long is it before, as you say, we've already had the kind of progressive incels making murmurings, or they did, like, sort of last year, didn't they? Made murmurings about, state-issued women.
Oh, God.
And you're just like, but there's no reason why, if they're going to allocate jobs and they're going to allocate, social positions and they're going to allocate, everything which would have been voluntary before, where does it end? Like, the incel has as much right to a diversity quota as does the woman going for a job in STEM.
Well, I think the term you're looking for is equality of outcome.
Yeah.
If equality of outcome is the stated goal, then technically the incel quota would have to be a thing, wouldn't it?
Indeed. That's what I'm getting at.
Only if they're deemed to be oppressed, though, surely.
Well, I mean, is anyone going to argue that incels, like, even if they oppress themselves, is anyone going to argue?
I know, but they're still straight white men most of the time.
I'm sure we could persuade some academics to issue a paper and review each other's papers to the point where they can basically then claim that this is an academically recognized oppressed group.
Yes, don't forget that we have to view everything through an intersectional lens, Tailed.
Yeah,
so it's
exactly. So they're going to look it through the hierarchy, and being straight white men, they're right at the top, I'm afraid. So
I know, but if they're also poor, working class, and an incel, and ugly, it's like how many?
Who's to say that all incels would have to be white?
Like, yes.
No,
so the way to start is to start with the non-white incels and then slowly widen the scope of that particular oppression.
And then we'll use the DSM-5 as well to identify every mentally ill person who's also an incel who through no fault of their own, and carry on and issue them there. But I don't like the way this conversation is going.
This is a very, very strange conversation.
I actually feel you took us there, but
I did. But you took me further. Took us further down the rabbit hole. I just wanted to make a joke about state-issued girlfriends, and that was that. It's like some nonsense.
Conversations. Let's move on.
Dear. All right. So yes, this was the end, ladies and gentlemen. The new statue plinth, which is going up, or has gone up, sorry, in Trafalgar Square, and this is the artist Heather Phillipson, who wanted to quote Marx on the side of it, did quote Marx in an interview about it, and sees it as representative of the slow and sliding decline of UK society, and presumably US as well, because these people always see themselves as citizens of the world, and despite this they have an obsession with the West, so that would be that.
Well, as much as I disavow, it would be quite funny if it got toppled.
Or at least sprayed brown, yes.
I
That
would
would actually be preferable.
It would be fascinating just to see a BLM sign just sprayed onto it. I just want to see what kind of reaction that would give out.
So,
but given the amount of time you say that it will still be spending up there, I think we can conclude it's not so much the beginning of the end, but the end of the beginning.
Indeed. Although, quote Billy Joel, there's we didn't start the fire, Britisher. It's always been burning since the world's been turning. There's always stuff going on.
Okay, so you're intending to burn it?
Yes, that's exactly what I was saying. No. Let us move on to our next article. We have here 5 surprising facts about inequality in the UK. Given that it's so much of a talking point everywhere about how, characterised a large part of the last general election, about how the Tories have made everything worse because inequality and, millionaires and billionaires and everything's worse for the people at the bottom, and the gap between the rich and the poor is growing. Well, 5 surprising facts about inequality in the UK says the gap between how much people earn in London and the rest of the country has narrowed since the millennium. According to the think tank, the geographic inequalities in earnings and household incomes have dropped. So as a whole, the UK is becoming a little bit more homogenous, even though obviously inequalities still exist. The government is promising to level up the nation despite the COVID epidemic. So the minimum wage, as apparently, I'd love to have academic agent in the chat here because he'd be busting and he'd be absolutely busting a testicle over this. The minimum wage has led to faster earnings growth outside London. The rest of UK did not suddenly outstrip London in terms of earnings. Instead, the higher minimum wage had a bigger impact outside the capital, and higher earning jobs were slow to recover after the last recession. So, the full-time earnings in London have only increased by 1.5%, whereas across the rest of the UK, it's all gone up by 6%, apparently. Let me see where this is. So, of course, this well, it's good news in the sense that it's pushing away the narrative that the Tories are doing a terrible job with the economy, despite and that COVID has had this massive impact. Obviously, we're still waiting to see what the impact of the lockdown will be. We're in that kind of bizarre lull before the storm.
Depends on the interpretation, surely.
Yes.
Because the other way of looking at it is that Nicola Sturgeon is doing such a fantastic job in Scotland that the other areas of Britain are catching up with London.
Well, apparently Scotland has had the highest growth. Yeah. Mean full-time earnings were up 8 to 12% in Scotland, apparently.
So there you go, SNP forever.
Have you seen that tailed around your area? Like average earnings going up by 10%?
Well, my average earnings have gone to 0 since the lockdown, so no.
Oh dear. I don't really know how to respond to that, mate. You have my sympathies. But yes.
I'm all right, it's fine.
But basically, the brunt of this article about the inequality is earnings apparently across the UK are up. Taking housing costs into account, poverty has dropped in the UK. London has the worst of it. Truly highlighting the fact that, as Rose will note, London really can be an absolute shithole.
Yeah.
London workers are still earning more, but because rent is so high there, obviously it doesn't make a difference. But I'm looking at places for this coming academic year because I'm moving back to London, much to my chagrin. And I'm looking at places, and I can get a room in the area I'm looking for about £650 a month.
Yeah.
That's just a room, right? That's cheap because it's an internal room with no windows. If I want an actual room with a window, it is between £750 and £850 a month. You can get a room for as cheap as £400, but that's singles and stuff like that, and there's no storage and whatnot. Anyway.
Like,
on the other hand,
the price of a house outside of London is the price of a room.
Well, on the other hand, as I say, like my other half is looking at rooms in Norwich for potential movings there, and she's just saying, we could get a house up there for less than what you were paying for your room. We could get a 3-bed house for less than what you were paying for your room last year. And I'm like, oh god, that's ridiculous.
All I can say is you absolute fool. Because you have just basically been telling us about the vacancy that was there waiting for you until just very recently.
That's assuming that people know what area I'm looking in.
A long ladder and a tent of the correct proportions and that 4th plinth. It could have been you. You could have been the art installation.
I could have... They would have paid me, whatever it was, £250,000 to sit up on that plinth for 2 years. I'd be quite happy with that. Just have people bring me sandwiches. In fact, I could be sitting on a pile of the cash, couldn't I? Until we
you kind of, put some
David Blaine in a glass box.
Yeah, something like that. But you would kind of stitch some, raised fist Black Lives Matter logo onto the side of your tent and whatever. I'm sure Sadiq Khan would have been all for it. But you missed your opportunity there. See, you didn't think outside the box.
Terrible shame.
It's because you're not a postmodernist.
I truly am not a postmodernist. Are you familiar, lady and gentlemen, with the common phrase 2 + 2 = 5, and where it comes from? Where does it come from?
It comes from 1984.
Yes, it does.
And the radio song.
Okay.
However, someone managed to get Twitter to argue 2 + 2 = 5 with no irony.
Yes, that was James Lindsay who is a mathematician, managed to get all the postmodernists attacking mathematics, which has been great fun.
The debate over double speakers heated up to the point where leftists have actually been posting 2 + 2 = 5 without any hint of irony at all. It began with James Lindsay of New Discourses posting a meme that read 2 + 2 = 4, a perspective in white Western mathematics that marginalizes other possible values. Here's the image there for anyone who can see it on stream.
James Lindsay was one of 3 that did the grievance studies expose kind of thing, where they wrote these ridiculous papers and submitted them to
they wrote
quote, respectable social justice feminist journals and stuff.
I was still surprised how many got rejected, but I think they submitted something like 25 papers or something.
Quite a lot of them got accepted, but only a few got published.
Yeah, no. So several of them. So I think there was something like 4 or 5 of them got through, and obviously none of them should have got through, but 4 or 5 of them got through. But the ones that didn't get through but were returned with corrections required was an interesting one, because one of them said that basically had found that it was some suggestion for a teaching module, and how so that white men should be put at the front of the classroom, and have tape put over their mouths effectively so that they couldn't speak, or just be denied speaking. And it was returned because it was considered that the treatment of the white men was not appropriate, as in it was too lenient. So what they did,
rather.
it was it was something like that. Yeah, it was. You were definitely looking at younger ages for teaching this, and so they said that they should be chained instead. Like they should literally be in chains at the front of the classroom for this module, and then it got accepted.
Yeah, because they said that they included something like, all right, well, if we chain them and they start crying, that's just their white fragility showing.
No doubt. No doubt. It's absolutely insane. As someone who has been told in a classroom setting to be quiet because I'm white, it's quite chilling. It's quite chilling, these people. But yes. So the meme is a setup of the current culture wherein virtually everything is labelled as racist, white supremacist, misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic, othering, shaming, or problematic. That should have been clear. It wasn't. People began posting 2 + 2 = 5 instead, including with tomatoes.
Yeah.
So this is quite interesting. Again, I swear, this better be unironic. Forcing someone to believe that 2 + 2 = 5 is saying the state can make reality whatever they want it to be and you just have to accept it because what the state says is true is true. It's not some inclusive subjective reasoning. To be forced to believe that 2 + 2 = 5 is to be oppressed. Sure, but that's not at all the point. The point is there is another solution other than 4, 5, X, whatever infinite number. Saying the only solution can be 4 is oppressive.
Oh god, I can just see that there's Papa Bird Jake.
Oh yeah,
Hugo and Jake
from
the most insufferable. I used to be such a big fan of the Bible Reloaded. Yeah, but he is genuinely the most insufferable person I've come across.
Yeah.
On Twitter, he's.
Well, did you see his debate? I don't really want to use that word. That discussion that he had with Jangles versus
Sargon and B. I watched bits of it. But then I kept
dressed up as a fucking banana or something, or a corn top or something. Just mental.
He is unbelievably insufferable. He's very, very full of himself. He regularly used to attack me quite regularly on Twitter. When I was just starting out, a little YouTuber, and I was still a fan of his, and he was just instantly bitter to me, and I was just like, "Oh, fuck you, dude! You're mean man."
It's because everything to do with all of this stuff is postmodernism, for all its faults, has a point in a sense that the symbols that we use for numbers are symbols. They are things that we have created. We have different alphabets throughout the world, and they are also used in different ways. And they have some words are not translatable, etc. Because we deal in symbols all of the time, and therefore, in that sense, symbolism is subjective. It's a choice that we have made because either we've been raised with it or whatever. We have learned about it. Mm. However, there is something to be said that in order for a society to function, in order for individuals to get by in that society, you have to take some things which are subjective and treat them as if they are objective, because it just doesn't work otherwise. 2 + 2 = 4 works because 2 represents a 2, and a 4 represents a 4, a plus represents a plus, and an equals represents an equals. You can say 2 + 2 = 5, and have it because the 2's, represent 2.5s, plus and equals mean the same, and 5 means 5. But, in a practical sense, because your new dimension doesn't match with other people's perceptions of reality, you are speaking a different language to them, and it's not practical. You have to be practical in all of your affairs. But these are people who are very proudly living in a dream world.
Well, it's all or nothing. Is the sky blue? Is the sky blue?
What is blue and what is the sky?
Well, the sky is sometimes, it could be red. It could be a dark purple. It could be grey because there's clouds in the sky. Or what about the ocean? What about the ocean? Is the ocean filled with water? Well, actually no, because it has ships in it. It has fish. It has seals.
It's not just that, right? So it's all about the way in which the system is set up at the moment in order to what the incentives for academics. It used to be that when places were a lot more restricted, and when we were a lot more merit-based, the expectation was that if you went in and you got a professorship, then you worked as a professor for a while, and that was contingent on you, doing your job as a professor, and you might do some research on the side, but it was optional. And then as soon as you became tenured, you were kind of expected culturally to engage in the teaching and the mentoring of, other professors and other students. But what you would do is you would devote most of your time to research, and it didn't really matter what you produced as long as you produced something over time. And now what we have is a system which is that you must produce one piece of research per year or you lose your job, for instance. Yeah. Really prevalent in the humanities. And what ends up happening is, of course, that someone who comes up with, let's say that they decided for real to talk about the symbolism of blah, 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 or whether or not the sky is blue. It's like, in order to come up with like a conclusive and deep thesis about the wider workings of human nature, you actually have to put some time and effort into it. You have to do reading, sometimes for years, often for years. You have to do your own searching for it. Whereas it's like the postmodern thing, it's lazy because people are desperately searching for like one little thing that's just enough for them to be able to claim that it's a piece of legitimate research so that they don't lose their job. And they also are fighting each other because there's so many of them now and the turnover is so great. In order to do that, there's no argument there's no lifetime contracts. The whole point of academic scholarship at that level was it was supposed to be something offered to a few people with the expectation that they were truly brilliant and that they might produce something over time, and so you wanted to take off the shackles of the daily grind from them in order to do that, which has actually turned into a lot of people being taken away from the daily grind, but then incentivized to produce these kind of like 5-minute, 5-minute fix-it articles and stuff, which has done, aside from, clogging up the university system, ruining the academic process, changing the focus of academia, it's also made journals a lot more expensive. It's slowed the whole process down because you've got more papers coming in than ever before, but on a myriad of worthless and pointless subjects. But journals and the industry have to process all of that, and it slows everything down. So is it any wonder that an academic somewhere goes, if I don't produce this piece of work, I'll lose my job? And so why not? I'll do something on the language that we use to describe the world around us. Why is the sky blue? And I'll call it Why is the Sky Blue? So just to play a bit of devil's advocate there, but also I guess highlighting just how fucked our academic system is, unfortunately.
Well, all I can say is I'm not getting any vehicle or plane or anything or going on any bridge that they design with this newfangled postmodernist engineering that they decolonized engineering.
People in the chat are saying postmodernism is how we got to the state of not knowing what the floor is.
I think the way to tackle it is to point out that this is Islamophobic.
In what way?
Well, the numbers.
Of course, yeah.
That's appropriation.
And even the most basic mathematics could be deemed to be the foundation of algebra, which in turn again is an Arabic word.
Oh no!
So this is all Islamophobic. This basically, yes, they should be aware of their own white guilt, their sort of
their internalized bigotry.
Hubris, yes,
internalized bigotry.
You just basically, let them fight it out amongst each other as to which one of their isms is more important in this case.
Let them fight. Right. Okay. So going back to this thing, Your example of 2 + 2 = 5 is a metaphor for language usage, not fucking math, you idiot. Once you use an obviously incorrect math equation as a placeholder for someone's argument, you not only dishonestly and intentionally strawman it, but it is no longer math. 2 is a variable.
Well, he just rants about it no longer being math, and then just brings math into it right at the end. His entire tirade completely pointless.
The idea of 2 + 2 = 4 is cultural, and because of Western imperialism / colonization, we think of it as the only way of knowing. If I have 2 apples and you have 2 apples, how many apples do we have together? Is it 4 or 5?
Well, James was like really trolling people last night.
Oh, I have no doubt. Like, why wouldn't you?
It was great because I mean, I think he and Helen Pluckrose have written a book, and it's not out to the general public yet. But what he did was he took a video of himself. He's like, "Here are 2 books," and it was his new book. He's like, "Here are 2 books. Here are another 2 books."
Andrea Chen says, I'm not entirely sure why there is suddenly some kind of weird transphobic discourse about 2 + 2 = 5. Are you ready for this, Rose? But apparently saying that trans women are women is Orwell's nightmare, and we must guard Mr. Orwell in his fitful sleep. Here are some cool thoughts from a trans mathematician. First of all, if you're reading this, you're probably one of my queer non-math friends. So let me put your fears to rest. Numbers are completely fake and can't hurt you. You don't need to be afraid. We made it all up. Stop doing maths. Numbers were not supposed to be given names. This must be like a troll. Years of counting, yet no real-world use found for going higher than your fingers. Wanted to go higher anyway for a laugh? We had a tool for that. It was called guessing. Yes, please, give me 0 of something. Please give me infinity of it. Statements dreamed up by the utterly deranged. Look at what mathematicians have been demanding your respect for all this time, with all the calculators and abaci we've built for them. This is real math done by real mathematicians. I would like graph apples, please. They have played us for fools.
That has to be...
It's got to be a troll.
That's actually...
Law that.
I like that one.
Right,
yeah.
click. Can you click? Are these just screenshots, or can you actually go onto the account?
Well, there you go. I can send you that one. Let me have a look. Yeah, I can go on the account, I think.
Again, that does sound like projection, though, because imagine saying that mathematicians have been screaming out for your attention and stuff, and it just makes me think, no, that's you. That's you that's doing that.
Pronouns.
There's a couple of like dunking on liberals. I'm not sure here, so it's a lot of actual maths and stuff, doesn't it, actually? Oh yeah, so yeah, it just basically seems to be
like that picture of Garfield.
Yeah, seems to be like a left-leaning, but like optimist, like who's not bought into the derangement. As far as I can tell, anyway, but that's good. Let me see. James hasn't taken the time to actually address the fact that 2 + 2 = 5 isn't useful for daily life. So there's that. All right, that's that story anyway. Just I thought it was amusing, regardless. I don't actually like. There's not actually that much news that I've picked up this week, so I'm kind of out of generalized material. But was there anything which you guys wanted to chat about before we've brought things to a close? Any stories jump out at you from the week that was, Britisher?
Let me see.
I've got one if you want.
Go ahead.
The UK considering a coin to commemorate Mahatma Gandhi.
Oh yes.
Wasn't this a story of the UK considering coloured people on coins?
Yes.
Or BAME people, as they put it.
Yes.
So I'm assuming Mahatma Gandhi was just one of the proposals, was it?
Yes.
I think Mary Seacombe was another proposal, was it not?
I don't have an exhaustive list, but I don't have a list at all.
What on earth is what is a PIO?
PIO.
PIO meaning. Yeah. Oh, person of Indian origin. Okay, that's what we're going. I knew it was going to be something like that. Right. So here we have. If I just take this image away, there we go.
So
the UK
PIO is the latest evolution from POC, is it?
Oh, for goodness sake.
We're now getting individual origins.
Like, yeah, it's going to be like person of it. But of course, again, because a lot of black people are lazy with regards to this kind of black identitarianism thing, they're actually, I imagine it's going to be, oh god, a person of African origin, and treat Africa like a country, which they always do.
And exclude such things such as, the oldest civilizations on Earth, such as Egypt.
Yes.
Yes.
So, the Royal Mint is working on a proposal for a new coin commemorating Mahatma Gandhi as the first ethnic minority face to feature on British currency amid criticism by some prominent persons of Indian origin, who argue that a figure intrinsically connected to UK politics and society would have been a more appropriate choice. I love that it's the Indian people who are upset about this.
But, he was pretty connected to UK politics.
Yes, as in he
literally liberated India from.
Well,
UK.
he oversaw the period of
transition,
if we call it that. He wasn't always a pacifist as well, which is interesting. If you're going to have people with dodgy pasts that the progressives are going to wonder about.
He was very racist, was he not?
He was very racist against black people.
Deeply racist, very Islamophobic, and of course, had his own stints of violent uprising in his youth before he did the whole pacifism thing.
And it's kind of dodgy, and he had young girls in his beds and stuff like that.
Ooh, basically,
he's a bit of a weird,
bit of a knob.
So basically, someone called Zara Zaidi who runs the "We Too Built Britain" campaign. I'm just waiting for I can see Britisher rolling his eyes in my head, was seeking active support for new coins and banknotes to reflect service to the nation by BAME individuals, both in military conflict and on the home front.
How is he? He didn't benefit our country by fighting.
Most to disassemble the British Empire is the one who is going to be commemorated for his services to Britain.
Yeah.
So the other options were Kudadad Khan, the first British Indian soldier awarded a VC, and Muslim British Indian World War II spy Noor Inayat Khan. We never pushed Gandhi, says the group who are pushing for more ethnic minority faces on the We Too Built Britain campaign. So the Indian High Commission in the UK, funnily enough, has welcomed the decision, saying Gandhi has been a symbol of equality and humanity for the whole world. His message of non-violence is more relevant today than ever. And it's so maybe you should put him on a coin in India.
I was going to say, have we ever had a non-Brit on our money?
I
don't think so.
I don't know it well enough, the history of it all, really.
One question that springs to my mind immediately is when they mention Kudrat Khan as the first Indian Victoria Cross winner. And the immediate question that springs to mind is, how many other Victoria Cross winners of non-Indian origin have we ever had on a coin? As in none?
I know that we were proposing, because I know Douglas Bader and Guy Gibson came up for options for various notes when they were getting redone, but obviously they didn't win either of them, because both of them were insufferable pricks, despite being heroes nonetheless. And also, we don't tend to... the British thing is also not really... we tend to... celebrate scientific achievement a lot more, and scientific or religious achievement rather than military in that sense. When it comes to That's why we have monuments. We have monuments for the military, and we have, other public institutions and whatnot have other symbols on them. Anaquin Cringewalker says, I've heard Gandhi wanted India to be a dominion like Canada and was against full independence. I don't know anything about that. Have you heard anything about that, Britisher?
Yes, he wasn't always advocating for Indian independence. That is true. But then it's basically, to a large extent, one was seeking some sort of autonomy. But then, yes, stuff got more and more polarized. Then there was also the Amritsar massacre, which didn't help. And yes, at some point he kind of reached the position of, look, there's no going back. We can't really remain under a British dominion.
Hmm.
But nonetheless, yes, the idea that somehow it is for the British to kind of commemorate Gandhi because one now has got a large Indian diaspora in the country.
Well, it's not.
Because really, that is the point. If it weren't for the diaspora, why would one be doing? Why would one be?
Because Britisher, they want to abolish the concept of Britain as a whole. So they see themselves as citizens of the world, and therefore, if somebody came from, like, your country of origin is effectively of no importance because countries shouldn't exist. And if countries shouldn't exist,
it doesn't matter whether we've got them on the coins or not, does
it?
No,
because they still want cultures to exist, Britisher. They want us to be a multicultural, effectively a multicultural enclave civilization across the world. And what we should do is we should seek out those people from any culture who are commemorable and then look to those as our inspiration. But unfortunately...
Let's do a deal. The day the Indians put Clive of India on their banknotes, we will put Gandhi on a coin.
Well, in the same way, the same, we should never have allowed mosques in this country until Saudi Arabia agreed to have a church in the country, because it's utter lunacy. These people, it only works, much like all of communism, much like much of the left's thinking, it only works if every single person on Earth is suddenly united with a singular goal, purpose, and will. And we abolish all of the differences between people in terms of perspective, opinion, and eventual end goals. So if we do that, then it will work. But that's not the case, because reality has something to say about that, and the rest of humanity has something to say about that, and there's plenty of people out there who have absolutely no interest in pursuing what they want.
Well, I wouldn't really go as far as, no mosques, no synagogues, no Hindu temples or Sikh temples.
I would. They can have them. They can have them as long as, the freedom of ideas is present in both societies. But
I would just simply, there needs to be, as you kind of hinted at when you sort of said, why aren't the Saudis allowing churches in Saudi Arabia? It's that thing that basically, you allow the other to have it, but in a way you expect whoever this minority is within your country to effectively concede that they are not the dominant culture.
Yes.
And they do not seek to dominate. And it's I think it's that which starts getting on everybody's nose, up everybody's nose.
That's the fourth time this stream you've mentioned noses.
Precisely. Yes, I'm very, very nasally focused this evening. I don't know why.
Getting very anti-Semitic there, British.
I remember a story I heard by someone who happened to be from that particular town of a sort of planning permission being sought to turn a certain building into a mosque and whatever. But the street name was that of a Christian saint.
Yes.
And in a way, it was kind of made clear to them, yes, you can have the building. We will accept you changing its purpose into a mosque and whatever. But we will then not accept any later date demand for the street name to be changed because, well, it's a mosque now and this wouldn't be right, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? It was only a matter of time, and then they started demanding that the street ought to be changed. And it's that sort of thing which I think really, just to christen this yet further, gets up people's noses.
Well, as always, it's a victory by inches. It's just a little more, or just a little more, or it's just this. Like, why do you have a problem with this? Why have you got a problem with this? Are you not a bigot, are you? And it's really, really irritating because, of course, you've got, like, if they actually packaged all of the changes that they had made within 5 years, say, as opposed to what they did in the first year, then the second, the third, blah, 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 then, you'd look at it and you'd go, that is insane. Of course not. You can't do that. It's only going to be about... I know that the story you're talking about, and they were banned, for instance, explicitly from doing the call to prayer in the street. Because it's like the middle of London and they've got all these zoning laws and whatnot. That was the argument being made. And they're calling for it, they're petitioning for it now, even though in the original contract it was just like, there's no way you're ever getting that. And it's because they get given one thing and then they're like, well, we can try for another. Oh, that's not working now, so what's the next logical step that gets us like an inch closer to that? And that's the way these people think, because they're they're practical in a way which we are not at the moment. Our side of the argument is not at the moment, unfortunately. But yes. All right, a couple of super chats are coming in the same, talking about these coins. So Michael Kelly says, it could be part of a new series. You can also put George Washington and Shaka Zulu on some coins. Matchstick says, I nominate George Washington for his service in the French-Indian War. And Matthew Ivy says, did you guys watch the chat between Dark Matter and Sargon? It was like the Bible reloaded. I used to be a fan of Dark Matter, but this talk showed how stuck in the past he is. I haven't got round to watching it. Unfortunately, I know it was going on the day after his stream with me, which is also on the channel if you want to check it out. But I just haven't had time for it because I've been moving back down to help family and whatnot. Did any of you guys catch it?
I'm afraid I didn't. Nope.
So I'm afraid not. There, Matthew, we'll have to. We'll have to have a chat about that at some point. Feel free to message me on Discord or something. Reconquista UK says Enoch Powell was as Indian as Sadiq Khan is British, so Powell for the pound.
Can we go back to? Have you got any more super chats?
One more.
I go for it.
So Anakin Cringewalker says, put a real British hero on the coin. Constantine the Great, the first in a long line of heroes who had to save the Continentals. There we go.
No.
What were you saying there, Tailed?
Yeah, could we return to the subject of the numismatics of coinery?
Yeah.
Currency. Because of course there are different like you have all got the Queen on all of your notes, that's right, isn't it? The Bank of England.
Yes.
We've got multiple banks up here, so multiple notes.
So that's weird. Yeah, I've seen some Scottish money, but I just assumed you had your own, just one extra version.
No. We've got Bank of Scotland, we've got Clydesdale. There's quite
and they've all got their own notes.
Yes, they do. I mean, they're all the same colour and size, so it doesn't.
Why?
It still sounds like a bit of a headache.
Yeah.
Not really. They're all. Anyway, so I suppose is it £5 notes or something like that that you have got Winston Churchill on some of them? Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember who's on each. Let me see.
Well, I haven't used paper money in so long. Like, I completely forgot it.
Well, because basically this would really only apply the story. It doesn't apply to notes, I believe. If they're just talking about coins, so it would only be the £2 coin or the 50p coin. Because the £2 they usually have some commemorative thing on it. And so do the 50p's. So just randomly putting, because they had Darwin on a £2 coin, for example, but that was for some anniversary.
Coins tend to be more transitory things because
they tend to be commemorative of something, usually to do with an anniversary. So like the 50 pence, they had a series of Beatrix Potter kind of things because that was some anniversary of her work and everything. So I think, what would the reasoning be for let's just stick Gandhi on this just to appease BAME people? Is that basically what it is? Or
basically it's a representation thing, even though it's not someone who's even British, which is weird. It seems to be being pushed by is it Rishi Sunak? Let me see. Is it Rishi Sunak or is it
So is Rishi Sunak actually pushing for Gandhi?
Well, he's pushing for getting more BAME people on.
So Finance Minister Sunak, who is like one of these big, it doesn't matter. He wrote to the Royal Mint on Saturday, urging it to consider celebrating the achievements of someone from the BAME community on UK coinage, and pointed out that for generations, ethnic minorities have fought and died for this country. Some of them have, but proportionally not that many. But go on. He did not specifically mention Gandhi, so the Mint all by itself came up with the idea of Gandhi, despite the fact that it has this think tank of BAME individuals who are trying to push these two British BAME, fighters, who were like, no, we never pushed Gandhi either. At which point, you just have these people. It's like the only people this has gone out to appease is the Indian High Commission. Not that we need to be in, particularly, we're not in bad standing with India today anyway. And all it seems to have done is piss off a load of Indian people who are Indian British people who are we'd quite like someone a bit more local. Thank you very much. That would be good.
The other thing is, if you put a BAME person on either the £2 or the 50 pence coin, you're going to be whitening their skin. So perhaps they should be on a 2p coin instead.
Silver is slavery. That's what they should have.
Sorry, Britisher. I just quickly, just before it goes off the screen, Tom of Loxley in the chat said, "I have two £2 coins here. Nice. I've got a fiver."
Can you imagine sitting in a in a Tesco or a Waitrose or something, and just going, "I know it comes to £5. Here's two £2 coins." You don't understand. Numbers are just representation.
Money is just a social construct, right, guys?
I'm going to social construct my boot up your ass. That's what's going to happen.
Pretty much.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, dear. Do we have any more stories for this evening, folks? Anything coming to mind? That was a good one, Town. Thanks very much for that one. Yeah, I appreciate it. That was pretty good.
As a former coin collector, that one struck home. So.
Aww.
Former?
Do you not collect coins anymore?
I sense a dark past.
No. But basically, what happens is I collect coins. I amass this big collection of various coins, and then what will happen is I'll go, this is a waste of time and money, and I'll sell them all, and then I'll go, oh man, I really wish I had my coin collection again, and then I'll buy them all back. I've done that numerous times. So I've still got them. I've still got a small collection at the moment, mostly of half crowns.
So what's your favorite? So half crown is your favorite coin?
Yeah.
The only I've never collected anything, but I did watch a Louis Theroux documentary once, and this is just tangential because the documentary was about the porn industry rather than about collecting. But it was just there was this guy who ordered a custom porn video which had no nudity in it, but was just these hot girls burning his stamp collection, and that was what he wanted. So these girls to come in and just cover themselves in stamps and then take them off and set them on fire, and that was pretty much it.
I thought it was going to be Louis Theroux's weird weekends where he basically just finds people that collect really weird things because some weird people.
It wouldn't surprise me if that one was an episode as well. Oh dear. Right. On that note, I think it is probably time to end. But thank you very much, everyone, for coming and joining us for the 99th episode of Fake Accents Unite. Scowen has gone through all of the previous episodes and does inform me that my guess that it is episode 99 is actually correct. We are actually on episode 99, so next week will be episode 100, our centenary. But I hope
So are you going to do anything special for it?
I will have a think about it during the week, and we'll see what we can put together and see who will be about and how many guests we can get on. And I'll try and have a round through and probably a longer show than usual. See if I can collect some resources.
Would that mean, given that you would be presenting your 100th episode, that would make you a centurion?
I mean, yes, obviously.
And that's this week's mention of the Romans.
Naturally, we will be running.
I had to sneak one in somewhere.
Naturally, we will be having a 100-hour live stream to celebrate. Can you imagine? Thank you very much to all my guests for turning up this week. Thank you very much, Tailed Feature.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Rose of Dawn. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you very much to the Britisher, as always. Or nearly always. Sorry? An honour and privilege, yes, as usual. On that note, thank you very much to everyone in the chat. Please do check out the links in the description, including the merch store. There's some new stuff on there, and I'll see what I can do up and keep you informed. Follow us on Twitter or Parler, preferably, because I'm on there. It's not so obvious. And have a great week. Take care, everyone. Good night.
Cheer in the
Toodle pip.
No star.